Now, former Minister of Sports and Youth Development Bala Kaojay says corruption in the procurement process has affected the efficiency of public spending and the opportunities to improve quality of lives of Nigerians. He also noted that corruption in the procurement process accounted for over 70% of government's total budget. With me in the studio is a public affairs analyst, Owolabi Falana, to look into this further. Thank you for joining us today. Now, it seems corruption has permeated every facet of Nigeria's life. What would you say about that?
It has been the situation from administrations from one administration to another regarding the depth of corruption in the public sector. But right now, it has gotten to a stage whereby it has moved from the public sector to the private sector. So I think we need to look at how we can have a kind of holistic approach towards
can you really say that it has moved from public to private, or that was why I used permeated, that is every sector? Because today, if you read the report published by MBS, it said that public officials in the country got up to 400 billion naira as bribe in this year alone.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, that, for example, the corruption we have in Nigeria, we should look at it from the angle of the whole, because there is a handshake. You know, you can't clap with one hand. You need the two hands to clap. Most of the corruptions in the public sector are something that come up with the active collaborations by their private counterpart. Look at the oil and gas industry. A lot of people in the public sector registered companies in private names. So we are looking at it from both angles. So I think when we are looking for solutions, e.g., having strong institutions, strong system, deterrent to corruption and all that, entry into the civil service, look at the criteria of people who are recruited into the civil service, look at the revenue generating agencies and all that. If you are looking at all those things, we also need to look at the private sector.
But then you wonder, who is the person to do the job? You said we should look at it. Someone should look at it. Who is the right person for the job? Because when you talk about corruption in the society, we hear that when you fight it, it fights back. So
yes.
Who is that person you can say that it's clean and enough to cleanse Nigeria of corruption?
Yes, as our 2015 election, I held the view that when we have a powerful leader who is not corrupt and all that, I think the corruption will actually, subside, so to speak. But now I have a new thinking, and the new thinking is that let us have different powerful anti-corruption crusaders. That is, let us have strong institutions across the board. Look at the kind of trauma the EFCC chairman is going through. It's affecting his job. Do we have somebody in ICPC that is driving reforms? Service Commission, Servicom, do we have someone there that is driving reform? CAC, Corporate Affairs Commission, do we have someone driving reform as regards registration of companies? Look at the quota system we have, for example. It encourages corruption, because if we are not going to get competent people who actually need this job, who are working towards getting this job, and we have to give some people quota. So I'll go to my village and say, okay, I have a quota for Lagos State. I'll go to Ekpe or go to Mushin, go and pick some people. So we have a quota. People that are not interested, they have to service me till they leave the service. If I need anything from them in a corrupt way, they will service me. Those are one of the problems of civil service that we have to also look at. Across the board, there are petroleum sector, there are some organizations of the federal government today that if you have to get a job there, you have to pay thousands of naira. Those people, when they get those jobs, they have to look at how they can recoup their money too. So we have to look at having a lot of reforms along the line, in addition to powerful president or whoever it is fighting corruption. But one person cannot fight corruption.
I was about to say that,
yes.
Because no one can exist in a vacuum. No
yes.
one can work isolated.
Yes.
You have to work in an environment. You have to work with people.
Yeah.
And it seems now in the country that one person cannot do it. If you have the view that, okay, you want to change something, you still need to go through some people. So it brings to mind what the former president Olusegun Obasanjo said when people were clamoring, they're still clamoring for restructuring. He said that what Nigeria needs is not restructuring, but restructuring of the mind,
yes.
Of mentality.
Yes, that actually takes time too. Obasanjo himself didn't do well as regards the corruption fight totally. He tried his best, no doubt, but there are a lot of things. For example, he himself is one of the people that created a lot of problem in INEC. through impunity. Because of those things brings corruption.
You can't substantiate that anyway.
I can substantiate that. For example, the worst election we've had since 1999. By 2019, we will have spent 20 years of democracy. It's 2007 election, where the Obasanjo go to different places announcing that this election is a do or die affair. It brings a kind of thinking within the political class.
But he's not the only one that has made such statements, in the provocative statements, really politically in the past in the country. So you cannot say it's just one person. So let's look at politicians, look at Nigerians and the need for you to change. I'm saying that if you say he said that, there are many people you can attribute to saying some statements that could have thrown Nigeria to a problem, but today the country is still standing. So the need, like we are talking about, looking at what the former sports minister said, that about 70%, in the procurement process accounts for corrupt practices, for you to know that somehow the country is even servicing corruption.
Yes.
It's quite powerful.
I think the solution, because if we keep on counting our woes, we won't go forward. I think the solution right now is that we need to look at how our institutions can be more strengthened through reforms. You understand? Look at the BPP, Bureau of Public Procurement. Right now, it's not encouraging small startups like myself, entrepreneurs, to come up, because you need at least 15%, you will be mobilized 15%. What that means is that if you have a contract that you are going to spend 100 million on, you will be given 15 million. Then you will need to go to the bank to get a loan, because by the time you get 75 million naira loan or 50 million naira loan, you will need to service this later. But for you to get those loans, you need collateral. And you are a small company, but you have the know-how, you have the technical know-how and all that to implement the contract, so you won't be able to get it. So you will end up with the big ones who have their clones, their surrogates in the government who are actually working with them. So we need to look at how the BPP Act also can be amended. At least let's start with like 30 or 40% mobilization fee, so that people who are coming up, young people who have good value proposition to the country, to the government in terms of service delivery, can get contracts. When they get contracts, we will not be relying on PW, Julius Berger, and all these big giants who have people also in the government working for them. So let us look at reforms too. It's not about the presidential body language alone. We need two hands to clap. We need all these institutions to come up, while we have a dedicated leader that will be able to actually push through this reform, implement this reform, and make sure that there is sanity in the system. It's not going to happen in a day, though, but I know if we start step by step by implementing all these reforms, reviewing our laws, making sure that all these necessary agencies are able to work the way they're supposed to, man them with quality people, competent people, and of course, within the space of 3 years, you'll be seeing differences.
All right, there is need for concerted efforts to fight corruption effectively in Nigeria. Thank you for your analysis at this time on the news. Owolabi Falana, your public affairs analyst.